Hey everybody, it's Tafony here once again. Hope you're doing well. Today we are breaking out the alligator clips for a beast of an episode. I'm rambling about the SOMA Laboratory's Pulsar-23. They describe it as an organismic drum synthesizer. I'm going to call it a semi-modular drum machine, and it sounds like this. Okay, Pulsar-23, it's going to be a beast of an episode. If you've watched the show before, you know sometimes I struggle to get through a single module in half an hour. We're going to try and cover an entire semi-modular system in that time. There's so much to say. I have so many mixed feelings about it, great and bad. I know when people say mixed feelings, they usually just mean they don't feel positively about it. Pulsar is just something that, like, it's such a unique drum synthesizer. There's some things that are wonderful about it and some things that are a huge headache. So let's go over all of that in the video. I want to say some random thoughts up front for context before we jump into this one. I was looking at this one for a long time. I love my modular drums, as you're probably aware, but what I did find when I was looking at this one in a trade was that there is a bass drum revision, which I wasn't even aware was a thing. So look up the forum post where Soma talks about it. There wasn't actually a ton of like specifics given or details I could find on it. I also did a video comparing the two, and I didn't find much of a difference between the two. So I have the revision 2 here. I'll just point that out, that the revision 2 also includes a original mode. So would I be putting the new module in. I think they sell it for like 100 Canadian dollars. You can just get the revised bass drum and plop it into your original SOMA. I don't think it's even worth doing. It didn't seem to make a ton of difference, which is totally fine. But yeah, it just, for context, know that this has the revised bass drum with the mode switched to the new mode, which resets the oscillator for tune. I know it's a mouthful. It was hard to find information on it, and the person I traded this to in the ad was sort of making mention repeatedly about how it has the new and not old bass drum module, has the old turrets, which is also a plus because they're, you know, more expensive. But when I got it here, it actually wasn't even in the new mode. So there's also that layer of it too, that like you might have the revised version with the new mode available, but I don't think they were even leaving the factory with it turned on. So I also will encourage you to watch that video and decide for yourself if you think that resetting oscillator is a big difference. Now, obviously, that is two different modes on the same module. I don't know if there was a significant overhaul elsewhere. I'm not comparing it to the original one, but anyway, that's a piece of minutia that I wanted to throw out right off the rip. The other thing is there are two versions of this one, and I have some misconceptions. If you want to correct me in the description below, please do. I encourage you to. But there are two different types of screws. I don't know what to call them, screws versus turrets. These are the turrets. They look like this. And there is a new, cheaper version, which is the screws, and it looks like this. Now, I understand they aren't really any different other than they are still in stock. The turrets are anyway. I don't know if they're still making them or if they've switched completely to the screws version now to save money. I mean, they passed that savings on to the customer. So would I opt for the turrets? I don't know. I would probably just get the screws if I was getting new, but this one has the turrets. Does that matter? I don't know. Haven't tried the other ones. Okay, and I think the last thing we need to talk about before we get into it is these, the alligator clips. People have some very, very strong opinions online about the use of the alligator clips. Some people really like them. Most people seem to really hate them. And myself, I got a hot take for you. They're okay. There are some advantages and disadvantages to them. Yeah, I know it's a cop-out, but genuinely, like, it makes it a pain to interface with your eurorack system, not because they don't provide you with an array of interchange things, but because it follows a 10-volt standard, and I think that is the headache part. So when people talk about how they hate, like, clipping them and putting them on the poles and stuff, I don't know if I care about that as much. Like, yeah, it's not as easy to, you know, physically attach something to a small pole that it is, you know, just plugging a eurorack cable in the jack, but it does offer some other stuff that eurorack cables don't offer. Like, everything is basically a buffered multiple. You can just stack everything on top of each other. If your cable isn't long enough, you can just clip it to another one. And then the organismic part of the synthesizer, I guess, you can clip these to yourself. You can self-patch for things that are very much set up in a way that they want you to be the patch cable. Like putting this bass drum out into the external in for some feedback patching. There's a lot of patch points on here that are just like, I can tell they're very intentionally put side by side so that you pop on them. Lots of the videos, people connecting the trigger gates to like metal rods and stuff. I think that was actually by SOMA themselves and stuff. Like, there are big advantages for those little headaches that come in with them. Yes, they do take a little bit more time. It gets really messy in a way that I never really understood that, or I never really thought about how eurorack cables kind of create this arch, like they take up the space above the modules, but then with these floppy little guys, they kind of just all hang out on top of the encoders like that. So there's like a little bit of downside, but then there's also upsides. I think on balance, it's kind of like, it's in the middle. The annoying part is the 10-volt standard. I wish this followed eurorack standard. And to be specific about parts where that gets to be a real headache, it's like sending triggers in. My Hermod Plus, I was trying to send gate sequences in to here, but it doesn't work properly because those are 5-volt gates, I believe. And then it's expecting 10-volt gates at the trigger for the modules on the SOMA, which becomes a pain because it's sort of implying velocity from it, right? So I'm just sending it like lowest velocity possible at that one, which is annoying. So I think when it comes to the Pulsar, you want to sequence it with MIDI. Yeah, but let's get into it. Okay, with all of the alligator clip rambling out of the way, let's get some clamping going. I'm going to do the classic patch with the SOMA, which is using the clock divider to sequence our drums. This is how I first sequenced eurorack drums in like the PAMS Pro. That's okay, we're just going to start with that way so I can show you the different sounds and the different modules. Note that these are gate inputs, so if I hold this open with the manual trig, let's just do it, it'll keep going. So note that when I'm using a clock divider, it is actually going to hold it open and hold it closed, basically, right? It's not just sending a trigger that goes. So on that note, I'm going to keep the envelope pretty open. And before I talk about anything else, I would just want to say the envelopes are a little bizarre. I feel like this thing is actually really, like, in a lot of ways, so built for droning. Even the kicks have this, like, crazy exponential curve that's, like, falls off really quickly, and hopefully you can hear that. But do you hear how it just, like... And when I was doing that bass drum module comparison, I was looking at it too, and I'm like, that's a really weird curve to have it like fall off so much. But it works in context. If you're doing that, I'm just like, you know, don't expect 4 on the floor donks, although we have one going there. The one thing I'll also say as well, it's kind of weird that there's so much transient, although it's not transient, it's an analog, but like there's so much click up front, and I don't know why that is. And the other thing, it leaves audio territory very quickly. Like, you got to be past noon, at least in this init patch, to get any sound out of it. Partly because I think that envelope is falling off so quickly, but like, anyway, if we open it up all the way, like, it's a fight to keep it away from floopiness. Floopiness? Is that an adjective? Anyway, the drive circuit, there's a mod matrix here. We're not going to cover that just yet. There's a pitch bend, which I'll talk about in a moment, but this drive circuit is not a wave folder. It is not a distortion. It is not a filter drive. It is a wave shaper. It goes basically from triangle to sine to square. So we got triangle, and it's weird that the sine becomes more audible, but I don't like leaving the triangle. I don't know what it is for me. And we'll talk about ways that I like to spice it up later on, but this floppiness is the fight with the kick here. And lots of people kind of have complained about the kick on the Pulsar, not just because of the revision and stuff, but when you get the kick into the right spots, it sounds phenomenal. Somebody made a plugin of it even recently, and I'm like, yeah, it makes sense because it sounds so good, but like, getting it into the right spot can be tough, at least for an idiot like me. The other thing is this pitch envelope, which kind of rolls the depth of the bend and the length of the decay into one, is something I would like separately. But if we tune anywhere like south of noon, it's like the oscillator is like dying. It just feels like it's like gone. Anyway, and if you start to drive it, it's like that wobbly, that floppiness, the boxiness. I don't know. So I like to keep this drive off completely. Put your tune past noon, and then use a nice pitch envelope to help it donk. And that sounds marvelous. I think I don't know, I'm just making a conjecture here, I guess, but I think they were trying to make it really for rumbles, right? You just get a nice click at the front, and then just juicy low end. But again, that releases all the way open, so I can just try and like get a little bit more juice out of that envelope, which is kind of falls off too quickly for my needs. And you can mute out that click at the beginning by adding a little bit of attack, but I would really want to keep that. Again, use that drive. It just gets boxy. I don't know. So with that being said, I'm going to derail this video by going way out of order, and I want to point out that while I don't like this basically like waveform selector, the wave shaper they call it, what do they call it? Controls the bass drum waveform, it says. Well, what I do love though is this drive circuit. Sounds marvelous. The distortion on here, I wish there was controls over it. There's no modulation for God knows what reason, but it sounds fantastic. And it will blow the crap out of this thing. You gotta watch your overall volume, like I probably was just clipping there. This distortion sounds fantastic. Other thing that kind of sucks too, there's no effects send for it. You got to just send the whole thing through it. But when it comes to building an instrument, I guess is what they're trying to do. It is an instrument to be played. But listen how good that sounds. The effects on here, being the distortion and the reverb, I don't use the delay as much, although it's fun to noodle with. They sound freaking phenomenal. I don't know if they're exactly the same as what's on the Lyra, but like, oh man, they're fantastic. And again, that's just that story of like, why does this sound so floppy? And then I think your pitch envelope also changes a little bit when you have a shorter release. But why does that sound that way? And then this distortion just sounds so good. With that being said, there's also these other inputs. There is, I have to look up what it actually says about it. Sorry, it says WTF, what the fuck, man, circuit bending node for the pitch modulator. So, okay, so to demonstrate that, let's take the envelope out and run that into the WTF. So now it's doing more pitch bending for us. We can tune down a bit. But you can also do your own pitch bend by using this mod input. So we'll just patch it to that one, pitch it down, add some mod. If we do a ton, maybe less. So again, this is sort of where you can like control it yourself if you want to bring your own pitch envelope. But again, it's kind of unwieldy. So let's go in and use the WTF circuit instead. I really like how that sounds. Take my drive off again, because I don't like how that sounds. Maybe this is a little too drastic, so that's circuit bent pitch envelope. We'll take one of our attenuverters here on the right and plug it in. And then I can use this knob now to blend it in, so if we want all the way, and just a little less. Yeah. Open the envelope further. Yes, that's where I want to be. And then the OMG for the triangle waveform generator. Circuit bending for that. Okay, well, that actually sounds decent. Interesting. Yeah. And again, the nice part about the alligator clips is we don't have to mult anything, although, like I said, this mess is already starting to stack up. But I can basically mult that without having to do anything other than clip it to another thing. So here comes the OMG and the what the fuck. Pitch in down. If I make my envelope decay a little bit shorter, we'll have to tune it down a little bit. And we'll take off the pitch envelope here. Yeah. Alright, that's way more depth than I probably should be doing per module if this isn't going to be 3 hours long. Okay, coming out, unplugging all of these ones. Let's get back into a nice territory. We got to be above noon basically to make it really sing. But what is really nice is this patch point here. So we have, you can replace the internal oscillator with some other source. You can also send the oscillator out, I believe. Here, I'm gonna be derailing this a lot today. So if we listen to just the output here, yeah, I think that's just one output. So if we create a feedback loop by looping it back into itself, it creates these crazy feedback things. But what you want to do, I think, is, yeah, when you use your finger for that patch point, you're attenuating it, right? And it sounds really nice. Just to have a little bit of feedback for this like transient little zap on top, I really like that too. So again, what we can do to demonstrate that is use one of our attenuators, bring this down, clamp some other ones on here. So instead of all the way, we're going to pretend it was my finger instead and bring that in. Yeah. I'll bring the tempo up a little bit. Just to give a little bit of zap up front, I really like that. And that sort of sound, to me, is kind of like the voice of the Pulsar. Those are the sort of things that I'm like, yeah, those are the Pulsar sounds. Anyway, that's the kick. I feel like this territory, it can sound very nice, especially we'll bring in some of that distortion. Gotta be careful not to accidentally patch things. I'm always doing that. Yeah, there we go. You just get into those nice territories where, yeah. Yeah. I don't know, I feel like a lot of these drum voices, a lot of what you're going to be modulating is using that envelope, I don't know, it's not an envelope follower, but the envelope output here, and patching into other things. Let's do the mod. And I'll self-patch using my fat fingers. Yeah. And then we're going to go over and do some more drum voices. So yeah, I mean, the kick, it's really touchy, but when you get it into that perfect territory, it sounds so good. All right, taking the distortion off now, let's send these triggers into the bass voice. So this one actually has 3 different modes, and we're going to try and get an init patch going. Open this one a little bit more. Try and do an init patch, basically. Tunes at noon, we are in CV. We are not going to mod it. We have a low-pass filter with Q. Volume's up all the way. I haven't talked about the effects yet, but we will. So there's 2 things here. There's shape here, which is basically like, not unlike the drive here, which is kind of an interesting why they named this one shape, not that one, but go through the different waveforms, see what they said here. DCO, okay, interesting. So yeah, just changes the amount of harmonics it says, so it gets into some chorusy territory. I don't know if there's like PWM percentages at the end or what, but yeah. But what does sound absolutely spectacular in my mind is this wave folder. So how do they describe it? Is it surge style? Is it what? It just says the amount of loading of the wave shaper. Okay, after the oscillator, obviously. And I love wave shapers. We got to tune this down because we're going to add a whole bunch of upper harmonics. And you can get low pass gaity here. Use the filter all the way down. We're going to do our envelope out here and patch that into the filter cutoff. And maybe I'll use an LFO to scan through that wave folder with the warp. And this is what I'm talking about. The only thing that's a challenge about this one, though, so you got to find a way to pitch this one, and you know, it's not easy on the Pulsar, at least in when you're in the very basic mode that I am right now, using clock divider. Basically, I can come in and mess with the tune, but you know, consider that you're probably going to want a sequencer. I understand there's some sort of way with the onboard sequencer, which I'll talk about later, to do some of that, but so that is the basics of it. This filter sounds great too. Let's try and take out our patching just so you can listen to it. So let's open this all the way up. And we'll sweep through that filter. Here is shape down, folder down. We'll just open it up all the way. And here, I'll do the sweep. We'll pitch it up a little bit. Oh, it does self-oscillate. Yeah. Oh, there's that. Yes. Shape up. Less resonance. If we do that trigger envelope again, this is just kind of my favorite thing to do with filters. Bring some attack in this time around. Sounds nice, as do the wave shapes, especially this folder. Like, listen to that. Little farty, yes, but you get that like Get that West Coast sound going. Yeah. So the other mode is the perk mode. This percussive sound mode. I don't know the specifics of what the other ones are basic wave shapes, and this one is completely different, I guess, but open the filter all the way up, and we get like wood blocky sounds. Take the warp down. Shape. Oh, there's some bells too. Warp them. Almost bongo-esque. Anyway, I actually find I do use this quite a bit, not because it sounds better than the other modes, but because it's just more useful when I'm doing other things. And the other thing, saying that, let's do triggers. I love that wave folder, and I almost want to make this into a kick voice too. So you can do that, right? You're not limited to using one over the other. If we bring our pitch down, open our filter up all the way, go back to the CV mode. Let's go from triangle, I'm assuming the lowest. Maybe we'll just go into, it's almost like it's very simple sinusy territory almost. If we do some warp, we can do lots here to use envelope followers to do that pitch bend for us. Let's do that. Bring that in with the amount knob. Gotta use shorter kicks. I'm gonna bring in some more warp. Filter on the low pass. Bring our tempo up just to make it feel more kick-esque. And then again, I'll use my envelope to, well, I'm not even using the pitch mod. Sorry, I patched that wrong. Out comes this. Okay, let's throw some pitch mod in. And then when you get some distortion on top of that, yes. Yeah. That sounds marvelous. Weird textures on the perk side. If we bring more. Tune it down a little bit. I feel like you just get more controls with this one almost for kicks, right? It's an interesting thought. If we open up our filter with that envelope too. Shorter. Yeah. This envelope output is going to get very busy. I think you can even like daisy chain alligator clips too. Like if I can do this without hitting the mod, can I put this into the shape? Yep. Fun kicks for days. All right, let's move on to the next one. Okay, onto the snare drums. So you can make this into a clap using this envelope here, but I'm just going to start with that off here, and we'll talk about those parts as we go. Bring in the volume. Again, lots of crossover. If you want to use this as hi-hats, you can very easily do that here, but we're just going to try and stick to its lane, I guess. We'll come in here and adjust the tune. So I believe it's digital noise. You can pitch it down. I don't know if that's LFSR or just the other circuits, but yeah, pitch noise, and graciously allows us to modulate that. So I'm going to do that just because I realize it's not the most straightforward patching necessarily, but I feel like adjusting your pitch when it comes to noise like this is definitely something we want to do. So even just a little bit, I'm going to send that LFO over to that one. We'll start noodling with the tune. Better in the higher end, I think. And if I can just jump ahead to some of my complaints about this thing, I know lots of people, lots of other YouTubers have said stuff about the lack of patch points. The inability to modulate the decays above all else is really weird to me. I just feel like that is like the first and foremost, like even maybe above the ability to modulate the filters even. I just feel like that is like the first patch point I would want on any drum synthesizer, and you can't do it here. So I don't know if they say that's because you should be doing it yourself performing, or it doesn't make it organismic or orgasmic or whatever, but yeah, I really wish you could modulate your decays. I don't know if you can over MIDI CC, maybe that's a thing, but yeah, I wish that was a thing, because it would be nice for these to, let's go and increase this in tempo. It'd be nice to go, right? And maybe the idea is that I'm doing it right now, but arm might get a little tired after techno performance. So bring that down. So there's this tune. We're modulating it right now with an LFO. Maybe I'll just take that out just for a moment for simplicity. Then there's this clap, and I'll bring our tempo down just to make the envelope a little more easy to hear. You can kind of split your envelope using this to make a clap effect. So I believe this clap will go from spectral to pink noise. So the tune is spectral noise, but then the clap can bring in pink noise. Right? I believe. And if you mix them in the middle, the clap can be that distance between them. It's a weird one too, though, because sometimes I find it makes a huge difference. Oh, there you go. Spectral. No, spectral. Pink. But then, the tune seems to affect both. Oh no, okay, pink's on the left then. Okay, spectral on the right. I like this spectral noise. Clap not doing a whole lot for me right now, though. Don't know why. Maybe we're filtered out in some way. Anyway, bandpass filter fixed for this one. That's just fine. If you bring in resonance, it can get like super self-oscillating, which makes for some very hi-hat-esque timbres, which is cool. We can modulate that with that LFO. Maybe we'll do that right now. No attenuverter on here for that one, unfortunately, but again, get 4 on the side. Yeah. You can also use external in on the outputs, do some of that feedback patching again. If we do an envelope follower to our pitch amount, you get sort of a pitch bend, which doesn't affect that pink noise side. Bring up our, yeah. I'm in hi-hat territory already, but bring in some drive. See, it's hard when you're in demo mode with snares and claps, and I'm always like, oh, okay, let's get into hi-hat territory. But too excited, let's just do. Okay, when you trigger it individually, you really hear that difference in clap. I wonder why that is. Maybe the gates are messing with it? Yeah, okay, here now. We're learning new things about the Pulsar all the time. Okay, mix it at noon. Maybe I have to use the envelope here. That's okay. It makes a great clap. I will say that about, surprisingly, not that they should be an afterthought or anything, but like the snare and the hi-hats on here sound really good. So again, in things that are kind of backwards on the Pulsar, you think like a big booming analog kick, it kind of has some questions about it, although, like I said, when you get it in the right zone, it sounds freaking amazing. But then the snares always sound amazing, which is sort of something that I kind of think of, you know, a beast like this having a hard time with. So who knows, maybe those problems are up here. So let's go in and trigger these. In comes the hi-hat. Trying to get to an init patch, so this one is a little smaller in that it doesn't have the top 2, just like the kick it doesn't. So let's go through the tune. We have this high pass filter which will open all the way up, and it's pretty resonant, I find. So like if you have it open all the way, it almost like doesn't make any sound, which is another weird thing. Like you think just the tuning here would come through, but hey, who knows? It's just one of those Pulsar things. And again, I know it always sounds like I'm complaining because there's a lot of weird, finicky things that I want to point out that we need to, we being me, need to understand. But that's kind of the fun of the Pulsar, right? Warts and all. So let's modulate that hi-hat. Yes. Yeah. What is it made out of? The tune is for the spectrum noise. So yeah, just spectrum on here. See, that's where I was in the other one. So maybe you want to try and get more into pink noise just to differentiate the two. Pink noise on the snare. So for that reason, let's go in and use clock dividers to bring in the other parts because we've gone through them all. So here's trigger on the snare. Yeah. And again, this is the most boring sequence ever, but when you're using clock dividers, it's kind of what you're limited to, obviously. So let's go in. Oh, if you mix in a little bit of that, that's nice. I really like that metallic-y hi-hat thing that's going on. I just like interesting hats, I guess. Now we're sending a square LFO to that mod input. Another nice thing about alligator clips, as though there are some headaches, as I mentioned before, you can stack things too, so they're malted on the send and the receive side, basically. So sending some more stuff into the tune input. So it's got 2 modulation sources to it, right? That's really cool. And if you wanted to, on top of all that, be the modulation too, you can add a third. Like, that part of alligator clips is really interesting to me. Then I think maybe this is a good opportunity to, instead of doing that patch like I just did, and here's something that's not cool about alligator clips, what the hell happened there, you get these touch points, so you can use that. We'll modulate our filter here. Let's just mute our hi-hats for a moment, and we'll touch these. So the amount of contact, basically, how much does it conduct for that modulation source, which is really cool. I mean, again, the organismic part of this one, if you use something that conducts a lot, it'll sound different too. Or me, that doesn't quite conduct as much. It's cool. Or you blend them. I guess I'm using 2 different sources. I'll do that to, I don't know, the mod of the tune. But again, this, for me, I guess, in saying this, yeah, you just turn up the drive circuit here. But like, for me, I'm like, the first thing I want to modulate is the drive. Like, I want to pump this with the kick, right? So on that note, let's bring in some other pieces. Let's bring in our bass. And I'm not sending a sequence or anything. We're just going to use it for textures or whatever. So turn down the other things just so I can drill that in for a moment. The other thing I also was liking to do before was use this to layer the kicks, just have like 2 voices dedicated to making a nice big rumble, but not yet. And maybe this one can actually be a little less too. And yeah, this is a really goofy sound, but maybe we can clean up this patch by bringing a nice kick in at the end. I'll bring my distortion out so this is less muddy. And again, I don't know if it was intentionally or not, but you gotta... There's a nice kick. I like when it has like this nice, like, it sounds like a physical drum, like that sinusy head, you know what I mean? But it's hard for it to be present. Bring down the volumes of the other one. But what does sound good is bringing in distortion always. It just makes it sound more good. That juggling act of when you use the drive, if it's not pitched way up, it gets really floppy. That's a nice spot though. But I still feel like there. LFO isn't synced, so it sounds a little wonky. Maybe we'll take this chance to take our clock divider and sync the LFO. And do you see how quickly this looks crazy? Syncing our LFO now. It's probably too high a division. It keeps resetting too early. Let's go slower. Yeah, there we go. Hey, synced LFOs. Not as easily come by as you might think. Yeah. Bring in some more distortion. Yes. Tempo up a little bit. We haven't talked about the effects yet, so let's do that. Okay, let's go over the effects sections now. So I'm going to bring everything in, bring the distortions out. Just using our patch. We have delay in. I'm in delay mode. I don't think, well, let's just start with the delay mode. So the first one, it says bandpass filter, so 1 tap delay with adjustable bandpass. So you can tune it. This is the filter. So you want your delays to be really, I'm just going to crank this up all the way so we can hear it. Do you want your delays to be really high-pitched? Not high-pitched in like pitch shifting sense, but do you want the filter to be really high, or do you want it to be low-pass here? I'm going to keep the clock mod off. I don't use it too often, but then the feedback, you can make this do the self-oscillation thing. You can make it into like reverb territory, right, when you do it. Right? I love doing crap like that. Let's go over to the middle one, which it says 2 tap delay, so a little bit of a variation. Turn feedback down. So dBL, I guess, is double. What happens if we patch in this mad input? So you can cause madness in the effects processor, it says. Well, what does that look like? Let's send a little bit to that before we move forward. I just want to see, because I've never actually tried the mad input. Are we mad? We're mad. Okay, not a ton happening, but if we turn up the delay. Oh! Some circuit bendy, like, dying out sort of thing. Chaos, as we said. And then this is the pitch. So we have adjustable pitch shifter in the feedback. I'll take my mad patch out here. Yeah. Hey, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, this is when people always say you can do so much with delay that you can't with reverb. And there are things that aren't just atmospheres to add, right? That being said, reverb is my beloved. Let's go over to the reverb now. First one is bandpass. So this will tune the bandpass, but we are instead in reverb mode. So feedback is kind of like your decay. So you can make simple textures, make them bassy. Don't think the time does anything here, but maybe. No, that's just a delay control tune for the filter in. Feedback for super long decays. And then going to double, which it describes as classic hall. So here's the first one. I like that. I like the second one a little bit more in this patch. But then we go in the pitch shifter. This is my favorite one. So it gives you some sort of, I don't know, I don't want to say Desmos Versio-esque stuff, but it allows you to do some pitch shifting, some shimmery stuff, right? So if you modulate that tune, come into that tune now. I don't think the time does anything on the delay front here. Or on the reverb front, it's only for the delay front. Yeah, interesting. Over not modulating, get that real shimmer. Now what happens when we add distortion to these things? We just get madness. And this is, just to jump ahead here, this is absolutely my favorite part about the Pulsar. Like, listen to this. When you get into this doombient territory with the beautiful effects, right? Suddenly all of the complaints about the minutia around the kick are fading away, both because it sounds ridiculous and because it sounds so good. Like, yeah, maybe some of those analog tidbits, those headaches around the kick. Yeah, don't care anymore. Yeah. Again, wish I could just send like kick and then have everything else a little bit more subdued, but that's okay. Another thing is to not send the effects to, or sorry, to only use the effect sends for the other voices, not the kick, to give it a little more punch. And then your reverb is a little more less muddy too, right? But yeah, hear this? This is, yes. So performative, right? I'm hesitant to say you should even, like, your default patch, you almost want to be at noon. Just because this, I don't know, there's just some oomph. Like, anyway. The problem for me with making crazy music like this is, like, always just, like, you can't have dog the entire time, right? You can't just, like, go all out the entire mix. You need to bring in some sort of dynamics. But then there is a point where, yeah, am I making my mix sound thinner? Right? Anyway, striking that balance is the entire thing. Everything in moderation, including moderation. Here we go. Yes. So that is what I absolutely love about this thing. Like I said, all of my complaints kind of fade away in the midst of these patches. And this isn't even with sequences, this is just a clock divider, right? On balance, I think I really, really like it. Isn't that weird? Like, to do, I don't know, it's organismic. There's so much to it, and I'm stoked to explore it more. I just, like, there are all these things that are bizarre. It is, like, I went in this video being like, it's not as weird as everyone says, right? I feel like, I know people was like, it's weird, a modular drum machine is so weird. This is like why I got into eurorack. But it's weird in its like bizarre implementation, I guess. It's weird in the choices to use alligator clips. There's all these headaches on the journey to the final patches, and then you get to the final patches and you're like, oh man, this is wonderful. Like the stuff that comes out of it is like amazing. So I don't know. It's great. There's a lot of things that are headaches about it, but I think I love it. There's, endless things to say about the Pulsar, but I love my modular drums, and Pulsar, for all of its quirks and quarks, remains no exception. So, hey, I'm Tafony. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Like, comment, subscribe. Do all that crap that YouTube's always on my case about not promoting to you, and I'll alligator clip you in the next video. Bye-bye.